a few slides just to kind of give you the background of MITRE before I kind of hop into a demo today. So MITRE started about 4 years ago with the goal to solve a pretty pointed problem. Our founders were looking at the industry specifically around payroll. And as many of you know on this call, construction payroll is pretty complicated. And contractors are really being forced into a few different boxes, either very generic payroll solutions that weren't solving for their specific needs, Frankensteining several solutions together to solve the needs that they had, or just doing everything super manually, double entering, having to kind of go back and forth and very error prone. And it just wasn't working. And so from that, they started to figure out that contractors really lacked confidence in the way they were paying their employees. And there are some ramifications for this, especially when you look at the world that we are building in today, where there are more regulations and complexities than ever. And we're also being forced to build faster than ever, right? When you look at things like the New Deal, just more intricate reporting that contractors are being forced to do, and also kind of the new generation taking over construction, where they really don't have time for old products or this manual reporting. They are used to kind of being born with a phone in their hands and kind of new generational tech. And so they're kind of looking for what is next. And so our founders created this idea of, what about if there was a software that could connect projects, payments, and people in one place and help contractors build with confidence? And so therein kind of created the idea of MITRE. And what that means for MITRE is we're solving really for kind of three real issues, which is number one, being able to job cost in real time. You heard Joel talk about this. You heard Brian talk about this. Job costing is the number one thing that contractors are looking at, being able to make sure their estimating is correct, bidding is correct. And this goes from all the way from the ERP to what you're doing in the field, all the way through your payroll decisions. And so job costing is just kind of the theme that we're going across. So how do you make sure that your payroll gets all the way back to every decision you're making? The next piece is compliance. When you're talking about prevailing wage and union certified payroll, you really don't have the ability to make a mistake there. So making sure that you are confident that even if there's an audit or any kind of anybody prying into your situation, that you are handling your payroll correctly, but all the way through your benefits and everything that goes along with that with your HR system. And then also connected systems, right? Not having 3 or 4 people have to touch something in order for it to get handled correctly. So efficiency, accuracy, and no duplication needed. And so that is how we created MITRE. So I mentioned that we started as a payroll solution. Since then, we have built into really a 3 product line solution, which is where we are today. So human capital management, field operations, and expense management, and then the kind of integrations to go along with that. I want to be very clear that this is not a job planner field operations tool, right? These are very separate, but I'll kind of show you what we have today. This is really built out around making sure that you have the kind of power of choice with our integrations platform and being able to have your people first. And that's kind of what MITRE is. It's a people platform first. So that's kind of where I want to start. We have now over 750 contractors. This slide is a little out of date using MITRE. And a few reasons why is we are a completely construction-focused software. So that's the only industry that we focus on. Compliance is our one of our number one focuses. So we have a lot of contractors that have unions, certified payroll. We handle all of the reporting and the tax filings on the back end. So that takes a lot of the burden off the contractors who are typically just kind of nervous about doing that all the time, right? And we let contractors do what they do best, which is build. And we take all of the kind of gritty stuff on the back end off their plate, which is usually a big weight off their shoulders. Also our modern APIs. So we connect with Acumatica to push the fully burdened labor costs back, which I'll show you in just a minute. And also, other FSM tools. So if you're doing time tracking, in another system, we do have a timed solution. But if you're doing that somewhere else, we can pull that back into our system via API or via Excel spreadsheet. So kind of wherever you're comfortable, we can work with you to kind of manage that piece. And then exceptional support, right? I think you've heard from some of the other folks on the call today that construction is all about people. And so we really want to make sure that you are getting the best support possible from MITRE as well. And since Acumatica is really a focus of this call as well, I just wanted to kind of highlight this because I'll touch on this in just a minute as we get into the demonstration, but wanted to just kind of flash this on the screen. So our integration with Acumatica is a great one in the way that all of the people data will come from MITRE, and then all of the product data will come from Acumatica. And I'll go into that a little bit more in the demo, but just kind of wanted to show what this looks like on the screen visually before I kind of hop into the demonstration. All right. Okay, did it go over to MITRE on the screen? I never know with Zoom if it transitions to the other.
Yeah, looks good there.
Okay, thanks. Okay, perfect. All right, so this is the MITRE dashboard and what it looks like when you initially log into MITRE. This is customizable, which is great. But want to start, since we're doing the day in the life, as if I am a job product manager, kind of starting off a job here, okay? So the first thing I need to do is I'll need to go and hire folks for the job. So I would start that by going into HR and recruiting and actually posting a job. So let's just say I need to post for this concrete laborer. If I click the live posting, I can actually post this job. And this will post live on Google, Indeed, and LinkedIn. Once people apply for this job, it will come back in here, and I'm actually able to see the applications that people apply to here. They'll be able to post their resume, their work history, and any questions that I ask them to answer to, I'll be able to see here. I can also, via this, communicate with them. It's not going to work there because I already answered this person. But here's one. So Wyatt had applied. I can actually chat with them via text message. So this will actually send Wyatt a text message. We can chat through this. I can get him scheduled for an interview and actually walk him through the stages of interviewing. And I can actually send him a job offer if I want to send him a job offer right through our system, which is great. So send him through the whole process. Once we decide, okay, we want to hire this person, we'll send him out the job offer, they'll accept, and they'll get sent to the onboarding portal through MITRE. This will send them the onboarding portal. They can fill this out from their phone, so they never even have to log on to a desktop if they don't have one. And this will walk them through everything that we ask them to fill out. So their personal information, if we want custom fields like their t-shirt size to send them company swag, their I-9s, anything that we need, we can get them all set up here. Once they're set up on the job, we will be able to get to work. And once we get to work, we'll be able to start by pushing that data over to, as I mentioned, Acumatica. So I mentioned previously that all of the people data will sync from MITRE to Acumatica, and the product data will sync from Acumatica to MITRE. So we're not actually going to set up manually any of those projects within MITRE. Those will pull over from Acumatica. So we got all of our employees hired, and we're going to push all of those over to Acumatica, so they're set up there. And then we're going to pull over the jobs from Acumatica. This will automatically sync once a day. But if we hired a huge crew at once, we can happily sync them over in just a few minutes if we want to do that at any given time. Once we pull over the job, here we have our Hasbro headquarters project that we have. This will pull over all of the details that we have from our ERP system. It'll pull over whatever details that we want. So the job name, descriptions, any cost codes. It'll also pull over the job location. This is for geolocation data, so we can do geolocation tracking for timesheets. And also, this is how we do project-based taxes, if that is how they are handling taxes. We can create individual time policies here for things like timesheets, transactions, etc. And we can also do a rule around here, pay rate groups, which I'll get to into a minute. Now, as we go into this job and kind of go through a day in the life, we handle daily reports, which I know multiple systems do this. And so this is kind of an idea of how you want to handle the workflow, but I just want to kind of briefly touch on this. These daily reports are really meant to be just one tool for your team to log into. So say your team is tracking time in MITRE and tracking their time off in MITRE and their timesheets in MITRE. You might not want them to log into 3 or 4 systems to do their time off and their timesheets and their daily logs. This is a light version that you can happily have them track their timesheets, their work that they did that day, their quantities, their equipment, and this will all sync into Acumatica flawlessly. However, if you want them to track it in a different system, you totally can. So this is just an option that they can happily track their information here. A note on our timesheets, and something that is definitely sets MITRE apart from other solutions, is the way that we handle things like unions. And so our job here that we're talking about today is in Boston, which obviously has several unions. One of those is around concrete, right? So let's just say that this employee here, Jay Rassi, is a concrete laborer, which is under a union in Boston. What we're able to do is actually go under and set up this custom pay rate group, which I'll get to in a second. But that pay rate group, we set up Jay Rassi in. And so every time that he is set up to do a timesheet, it'll automatically calculate all of his base rate and his fringes for this job so that we don't have to go in and manually handle that. Like previously, typically, a lot of companies do this on spreadsheets and manually to kind of figure out what they owe for this employee. Instead, this will automatically override any time that he's working on this because we know that he is a union employee classified to this concrete labor organization. How we do that is specifically through our pay rate tool. You can do this for prevailing wages. You can do this for unions. And it's meant to be kind of a set it and forget it type situation, which is really fantastic if you have any of those kind of complex labor situations. All right, so going through that, we do have as well like a very light scheduling tool. I won't say very light, but it is a light scheduling tool, so you can use this as well. Just wanted to mention that. Now, moving through, the other piece of this is spend. So if your company has an existing corporate card program, you can link that corporate card program here. So if you have Visa or MasterCards, you can link that here and be able to link those to a specific person. So every time Justin swipes his card, this will pop up here with his information, and he gets a text message on his phone and is prompted to come in and input whatever information you want him to. This is completely customizable, but he will be prompted to select this specific job, put the associated cost code, we call cost codes activities within MITRE, GL account, whatever you want him to do, put a receipt, put a memo, whatever it is that your specific company has him do. We also have MITRE charge cards. They operate a little bit more like debit cards. You have to preload them. So most companies just opt to link their existing corporate card program. And then also reimbursements. So these can be set on a recurring basis. And so if, say, every time someone leaves more than 100 miles from their home base, they get a $50 per diem. You can set the system up so that automatically calculates. Then once you are ready to run payroll, this will pop into payroll and you'll be able to see the payments that are going to happen here. For the timesheets, you'll see all the timesheets typically that are approved. Since these are unapproved, I'm going to get a error up here when I try to run this. You'll see any reimbursements that are going to be run on this payroll, any time off that's being included, etc. once I hit continue, it will pull the payroll with some error codes like I just mentioned. So here's the error code because I have timesheets that aren't approved. But it'll show me the total liability it's going to be pulling from my bank account, the amount that's going to be debited, and then the amount of paper checks that are going to be printed. And this is the full amount that's going to come out of this payroll this week. So we make it really simple. We call it a co-sourced payroll. It's not fully outsourced because we are not actually clicking this button and saying, okay, we fully handle everything. That is still something that your team is doing. Once that payroll is ran, we also have a full list of reports that you can run. So if it is around unions, like I was mentioning earlier, we have the ability to run fringe reports if you need to check those. Or if you're in a place that has certified payroll, you can select the state and we typically have that information for you. This is an example of one that I pulled earlier. Where this is a certified payroll report and it will automatically calculate all this information for you and put it into this form. So all you have to do is then send this report to the Department of Labor. So it makes life just a little bit easier not having to automatically or manually fill out all of these forms every week or every month, whatever your specific reporting cycle is. The other thing I did not mention is the ability to go in and do open enrollment through MITRE. So we do have that, which is fantastic. Makes things a little bit easier as well. And then last thing that I wanted to note is just the approval workflow. This is really important to know. So I am the approval for my team in here. And I do have this inbox every day that I can come in and see what timesheets I'm supposed to be approving, what card transactions, reimbursements, etc. So this does help just kind of keep things pretty streamlined within my day-to-day. There's obviously a lot more I can go to in each one of these. We have additional tools on top of this, like performance management, learning management, certifications, etc. But want to keep it pretty high level for you guys today. So I will stop there and let the next person go.
Thank you so much, Sarah. All right.